name is Angelo Lopez. I am a Filipino-American editorial cartoonist in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I'm honored today to be talking to two great editorial cartoonists, Khalid Albaih from Sudanese cartoonist and Vladmir Kazanevsky, a Ukrainian cartoonist. I practiced pronouncing your last name all of yesterday to make sure I got it right. Did I get it right, Kazanevsky?
Yes,
Okay.
it's right.
Okay. So today we'll be talking about the situations in Sudan and the Ukraine, as well as the careers of these two great political cartoonists. But I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me, but also I know the situations in both of your areas are very heartbreaking. So I want to give my care, and I hope for a just peace in your communities very soon.
I hope so too.
Okay. So let me ask my first question. In this past month, what has been happening in Sudan and Ukraine, and how has Donald Trump affected both of those areas?
You can start, Vladimir.
Oh, Vladimir, I think you can start if you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I will say about the war in Ukraine. The war in Ukraine of Ukrainian people against the Russian troops who are trying to occupy all Ukraine continues. The Russians are stepping up the offensive of their troops, have superiority in the number of soldiers and weapons. However, they have superiority in quantity, but not in quality. Ukrainian soldiers are motivated by defense of their homeland from the occupiers, while Russian soldiers are motivated only by money. In addition, Russian outdated weapons are not as effective and high quality as weapons produced in Western countries, which Western countries have mainly armed Ukraine with. I worked at a secret military factory in Kiev after graduated from State University Department of Cosmic Radiophysics. This factory developed the manufactured cruise missiles. After the collapse of USSR, these missiles were transferred to Russia under pressure from Russia and Western countries. And here is the paradox. The factory where these missiles were produced was destroyed by Russian missiles. Yes, and 1 month ago only. Perhaps it was destroyed by the very missiles that were made in this factory. It looked like children killed their parents. This war is drone war. Currently, Ukrainian troops are using surface, underwater, land, and air drones very effectively. For example, tanks are very easily destroyed by small, cheap drones. Surface and underwater drones have practically disabled the Russian fleet in the Black Sea. Trump is actively involved in negotiations to end this war. However, half of a century ago, information appeared that Trump became a KGB agent in Czechoslovakia with the nickname Krasnov. This was written by two former KGB agents who fled the USSR to the West. This information may be fake, but recently Trump has been acting as if he is a KGB agent. Yeah. He is completely playing along with Putin. Putin's main motive in this war is the occupation of all Ukraine. Yeah. Trump's main motive is to become a Nobel Prize Peace Prize laureate.
Yeah.
The main sense of him is to stop the war by giving the Ukrainian territories seized by Putin to Russia. The results of Putin's visit to Alaska are victory in this visit of Putin. He refused to stop the war. How Trump is now Trump is telling Zelensky to make a deal with Putin and give up the territories he seized. However, this is not possible because the Ukrainian constitution does not allow it.
Oh, okay. I'm taking the guess that the Ukrainians don't trust Trump. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Khalid, what's
Yeah.
going on in Sudan and stuff?
Um, Sudan is part of a war that's going on in the Middle East, and part of the reshaping, I guess, of that area. And the powers at play are the same powers that are play in every war that's going on over here, you know. So you have Israel and the UAE on one side, and then on the other side you have Turkey, you have the Qataris on the other side, and it's basically um, both of them kind of what seems to be happening now in the region is that every country is kind of broken into de facto two countries. So Yemen is two countries run by two systems.
Yeah.
Uh, Not officially, right? Which just makes the whole state just, a state of collapse, basically, just survival. Libya is the same thing. Somalia is the same thing. And now it's happening in Sudan after the proper separation that happened between the North and the South in 2011. Um, and basically now in the last, I don't know, I would say like 3 months, everything is happening every day. And it just, it was a clear um, it was a clear direction at the beginning that the it was the army against the Janjaweed, the RSF, which both of them were committed the genocide in Darfur in 2013, 2003, sorry. And now they because of the different alliances, I guess, in the region and the way that um, mainly, I would say, the UAE would like the RSF to be the sole ruler of Sudan or part of Sudan.
Yeah.
Uh, this is it's backing the RSF, the Janjaweed, and no matter what genocides happen, no matter how much of basically unruly and a mess, the situation would be. And then on the other side, the army is trying to, even though they lost a lot of territory at the beginning, including the capital. Now they regained most of the territory they lost. They regained the capital. And on the other side, what the conclusion seems to be now is the RSF or the Janjaweed with the backing of the UAE militarily and logistically, are trying to take over the west of Sudan, which is Darfur, which is basically where this is the stronghold of the Janjaweed.
Yeah.
So in the last month, they announced a government led by the same people basically that started this war. And so now we are in the phase of basically creating another de facto state, just like Yemen or just like Libya or just like Somalia,
Yeah.
that kind of just tears the country apart with nothing working on either side.
Uh,
And but basically all the gold is being transported into, Dubai is one of the biggest gold markets in the world, but they don't have a one gold mine, right?
oh,
And it
yeah.
all
Yeah.
it all
Yeah.
comes from Africa and mostly as well from Sudan, and this is how this is going right now. So what's happening in Sudan is has is a part of what's going on in the region in many ways.
Okay. It was just sort of it's reverberating trends that are going on through the Middle East, I guess. Is that
It's
right? Or
it's it's not really trends. I think it's more of a plan of how this place would look, whether it's in Syria or whether it's in Lebanon, where there's no any kind of authority that could take charge or make any decisions, whether um, when it comes to economy or it comes to politics or anything. And what you end up with is basically a very weak puppet regime, just like we had in Afghanistan before, or like we have in Iraq and whatever, and that can just, you know, be told what to do and do it, and anyone who stands against that is a terrorist, and this same old. So
yeah,
basically, the idea is to create divide and conquer, create a non-functioning states, and this is and the cost of that would be a lot of people, a lot of death, a lot of immigration, which I don't know how are they going to solve that, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, people would just there's nowhere else to go. Where are you gonna go if you want a good living for you and your family,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I'm curious. Vladimir was talking about how Trump was affecting the
Yes.
Ukraine and stuff.
Mm.
Um, we don't hear about this about Sudan, but how's Trump affecting Sudan?
So Trump in his first term was, I think, is the main reason why this war happened is that Trump in his first term didn't allow Sudan to be transported into or transform into the civil society or the civil government that was put together after the revolution in 2019. A beautiful revolution led by, as usual, led by young artists and women,
Yeah,
and it was beautiful. Um, and then when the civilians came to power, um, Trump didn't really give them the chance to take them off the terrorist list, take Sudan off their terrorist list, which would make which would basically ease the sanctions or take off the sanctions, which would mean that the economical situation would be better. Instead, he pressured the civilians to accept the Abrahamic Accords with Israel. Other than that, we'll let you go to hell. And this is basically what happened. The civilians at the time said, listen, we're an interim government. Uh, we cannot continue in taking a decision that needs the parliament. And for us to make a parliament, we need all the sanctions and we need the support of the people and all of that. And Pompeo just walked out of there, and I think around 3 months later, the army made a coup against the civilian government, put the civilian there in jail, and then the army fought among itself. So I think one of the main reasons for this war is that exact moment where Trump basically just wanted his Nobel Peace Prize
yeah,
by getting as many people around that Abrahamic Accords table as possible. So that's one. And then the second one now is in his second term, what he did, him and Elon Musk, what they did with the U.S. aid,
yeah,
because most of the civilian civil society, most of the artists, most of these people worked under organizations that were funded by U.S. aid.
yeah,
And with the lack of USAID funding, we basically lost all sort of independent media funding. We lost a lot of the, activists, the artist projects, all of these things have gone down the drain. So which would make things even worse. And this is the first thing that you said is like we don't hear a lot about Sudan. And that's the reason, because
yeah.
people can't, produce well enough images that could tell the right story about Sudan. Or but we're trying, and I think there's a lot of good projects happening.
Okay, okay. It seems like Trump's pursuit of the Nobel Prize is having a terrible effect on both Sudan and the Ukraine, which is very
Mm.
ironic because he's supposedly chasing, supposedly the Nobel Prize is for peace, right? And
Mm.
Yet his pursuit of the Nobel Prize is just bringing a lot of suffering for both communities. I'm American, so I want to apologize for my government and stuff for both of you. So, okay, so yeah, I hope you don't get too mad at me. So,
We understand. We understand how it works.
Americans, many Americans who said the same words, but who elected Trump? I don't know.
no,
Yeah,
I actually I voted for Harris, so much I would apologize. Although the Democrats don't always have the best record either in terms of in foreign aid, but I think for yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go to my next question and stuff
Yeah.
before I wilt in shame and stuff. But you know, we're going to sidetrack a little bit to both of your careers and stuff. How did both of you become interested in political cartooning? And for both of you, who are your cartoonist heroes and heroines? And yeah, go ahead. Whoever wants to speak first.
Definitely Vladimir speaks first because I would love to hear that story.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, go ahead, Vladimir.
Before Russian invaded Ukraine in 2014, I did not draw political cartoons. I prefer satirical cartoons, philosophical cartoons, funny cartoons, but not political. I hate political cartoons. But however, after the enemy attacked my country, I began to draw political cartoons, especially after terrorist attack on the Charlie Hebdo newspaper. It became especially clear that a cartoon is a serious weapon that dictators fear. When the large-scale war began in 2022, I became a political cartoonist and can no longer draw funny or social cartoons. I don't understand how to do it because all time I have seen news, listened news, and reacted for this for events. And the heroes of my political cartoons were main political leaders who are associated with the war as well like Russian enemies. For us, Russian is real enemies now, and Russian troops, it's animals. And I used in my cartoons many symbols of Russian troops. It's symbol Z, for example. I used symbols of Putin. I hate Putin very much. And I used symbols of Kremlin, of and many others Russian symbols from the history. For example, bear is the symbol of Russia in many political cartoons in 2 centuries. And from time to time, I used bear too. Yes, and I will cannot do another things because I understand that I am a soldier in this war, but in the field of political troubling and some system of propaganda, Russian propaganda. So I am soldier of war propaganda now, unfortunately. Because I don't like it. But I understand that I have a weapon, a real weapon, and I must to do it. And I use my all my art, all my creativity only for political cartoons now. But last time my main hero was Trump. Because Trump he helped Putin to make to prolongate war against Ukraine, and I use many symbols of Trump and together with Putin, Kremlin, and other things. So I am a political cartoonist now, but I hope that it will be after our victory. I will come back to my lovely political cartoons, philosophical cartoons, my lovely funny cartoons, and I prefer now to create graphic novels and
Okay.
to my graphic
Oh,
novels.
okay.
I
Okay.
will back.
I may ask you about that later and stuff. So you were forced to be a political cartoonist. It really wasn't a choice for you. Okay.
Not by my government, by my people. It's from himself. I himself made political cartoons.
Okay. So you feel
Cartoonists
a
because
responsibility to be a political
yeah,
cartoon.
yeah, yes,
Okay.
because I have a real weapon.
Okay. Okay. Is it similar to you, Khalid? Do you feel a responsibility? Oh, okay. My original question, but add to that. Vladimir feels a responsibility to be a political cartoonist. Is that the same with you and stuff? But first, how did you become a cartoonist and who are your heroes? But then also, well, Vladimir, I didn't think of what Vladimir was saying, but it's interesting. Do you feel
Mm.
also, as well as how did you become a cartoonist? Is it a responsibility for you?
I definitely feel like I have to do it. I mean, it's and cartooning is such a it's also it's great, you know. It's amazing. It's street art. It's really like the voice of the people and everything. But it's a very negative art, you know, and you have to
Yeah,
always, you know, read a lot of news. You cannot be not connected because I think for me, like the worst part of, you know, the worst kind of cartoonists are the cartoonists who are disengaged or the ones who are, you know, doing cartoons about things that they don't understand or they don't grasp fully or whatever, you know. So for me, the reason why I became a cartoonist was kind of to deliver our side of the story, you know,
yeah,
like because, you know, I grew up all my life um, trying to explain to others how you know because people see us in a certain light, and when I say us, I mean, you know, whether you know African people or Muslims or Arabs or you know people from the global South as a whole, as you know, because you know most people in our part of the world, you know, we speak either we're always bilingual or even more sometimes, right? That we speak
yeah.
English or French, so we know what the media on the other side is saying about us, you know, and it's not always good, right? And it's almost all not good. And growing up like that as a child, and my father was a diplomat, so you know, I was born in Romania,
Yeah.
and I grew up most of my life outside Sudan after my dad had to leave, of course, again because of political situations and everything. And it was always kind of trying to make myself seem normal to other people. You know, I'm just like you know, there's
Yeah.
it's so that's where kind of I thought cartooning would bridge that gap, right?
Yeah.
Because it's you know, when I say I'm a cartoonist, people smile, right?
Yeah.
And that for me was kind of like a good introduction to to talk further about facts or about how and why the Western media see this in this light, or you know why whatever happens now happens or whatever, you know, these kind of things, right? Because um, there seems to be kind of like a smoke and mirrors kind of thing happening about you know, the global South as a whole, you know, or Muslims as a whole, or like, oh, they're coming here for this, or they're coming here for that, and this is what they want, and this is, you know, they lie about everything, and this comes from officials, right?
Yeah.
So this is kind of why I'm doing this. I mean, if I was giving a choice, would I this is what I'd be doing? I don't think so.
Oh,
But I feel like,
so
yeah, you know, I
you're
like,
like Vladimir. You don't want to, you have to. So for
yeah,
both of you, you have to do this. Okay.
we have to do it because I don't think any other person is doing it. And because you know, I feel such pressure sometimes, right? Because I was always put forward, whether by the media or whatever, because, you know, I speak good English and I went to international schools or whatever it is, that I can kind of explain better, right? So I found myself to be kind of the voice, not that I'm the most knowledgeable or I'm the most talented or whatever, but I found myself to be
Yeah.
mostly out there. And that's a big thing to carry. And the reason why I was into cartoons from the beginning was because I was into comics. I loved comics. I loved,
Yeah.
just normal art, and I was interested in art and in all its forms and design, and that's what I studied. I studied design, and when I was a kid, I remember, like, because comics didn't really connect to our world at all because they were all translated or mostly translated DC and Marvel comics and so on.
Yeah.
So I remember when we left Sudan, I had a lot of questions about politics. What is politics? Why are we here? You
Yeah.
know, uh, I just wanted to understand a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
And I come from a very political family, so I hear a lot of political discussions all the time.
Yeah.
And then when I was, I think, a teenager, my father started buying these two political cartoon-based magazines. They're I think more than 100 years old, Egyptian magazines. One is called
Oh,
Sabah al-Khair, which means good morning. The other one is called Rosal Youssef, which is the name of the founder, who's a woman. And the founder, I think both of them were founded in the early 1900s.
oh,
And that kind of just, blew my
yeah.
mind, really, that comics can actually talk about this, and it's funny and it's satire, and also that even living in the Arab world at the time, with all the dictatorships and all the censorship, the hard censorship, these cartoonists managed to talk about things in a roundabout way,
Yeah.
which was funny, which was brave, which was about what's going on, you
So
know.
these cartoonists were your heroes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
And of course, my biggest hero, like cartoonists, is Najil Ali, the Palestinian cartoonist who was
Oh,
assassinated in London
okay.
in
Okay.
the 80s, because his cartoons were more like, a lot like Vladimir's, right? When I later found about Vladimir's and his style of work and stuff, it's very similar, because he's not about the gag. It's not about
Yeah.
being funny. It's about telling what the situation is in a sarcastic way, or in a way that makes you think. It's about deep thinking. And he uses poetry, and he uses this and that, and normally just black and white, um, super simple,
Okay.
but very deep. Like, it makes you think deeply about it. So I just started copying him, and I still think I'm copying him until today. So and this is kind of what really attracted me to political cartooning, is also um, the design aspect of it, right? Because for our generation, it was always like street art. It was the logos. It was like things that you can wear on a t-shirt, things that you can stencil on a wall.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do things that are a combination of all of these things. Like, it's a combination of something that's cool that you could wear, because this is
Yeah.
how you start a conversation. Oh, this is cool. This is, what is this? And because for me, it's all about just trying to get to the other side.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm different from both of you in the sense that I actually love cartooning,
Yeah,
whereas it seems like you guys are forced into it and stuff. But for
we are.
me, yeah, yeah, because for me, I think before I did political cartooning, I kind of felt like a loser
Mm,
as an artist. But
mm,
I found I'm not I don't think I'm as good as you guys, but I love it because it gave me a connection to the Filipino American community
mm,
stuff. And I feel with you. I'm glad that you guys think of it as a potent weapon, because in America, the political cartoons aren't as much. We're still influential on local issues.
mm,
We no longer, because newspapers are declining, American cartoonists, their influences on local communities.
mm,
It's no longer influential on national issues
mm,
and
mm,
stuff. So
mm,
we can't, a cartoonist can no longer take on Trump, but we can
mm.
take on a mayor, we can take on a governor and stuff.
That's very dangerous, though, huh?
Yeah, it's dangerous on local issues, but in 40 years ago, a cartoonist named Herblock, he was able to confront Joe McCarthy and stuff.
Mm,
But I don't think today's cartoonists have that influence anymore. Our
Mm,
influences, whereas am I right or am I wrong? For Vladimir, you could still have an influence on Ukraine, and for
mm,
you, Khalid, you can still have an influence on Sudan. But
mm.
it sounds like the power of political cartooning is still obvious. Is that right or am I wrong?
Yes,
Oh.
absolutely.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah. Is that true,
I mean,
Vladimir, too? Or, for you, it's obvious that a political cartoon is for both of you. I interrupted you, Khalid, too, but
no, no, no. Go ahead.
okay. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Khalid. If you so for you, it's obvious and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's obvious. I mean, the power of political cartooning is it's how fast it gets to people, and it's human level as well,
Okay. Okay.
and that's what I like about it. And most of my cartoons, like I was known outside of Sudan more than I was known inside of Sudan, and I did a lot
Oh,
of work for a lot of international issues, and that was because of the internet. I'm from that generation of the internet, right?
yeah. Yeah.
So we use that, I guess, to get to people.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I just noticed in my clock we have 7 minutes left.
Mm.
Let me ask this next question. But if neither of you can answer, have the time, we can go to the next
Think,
video,
okay.
and we'll
Mm.
we'll continue and stuff. But um, Vladimir, you kind of mentioned this and stuff, but usually when we think of political cartoons, we think of satire, so we think of humor, right? And you touched upon this, Vladimir, but during times of conflict, do your cartoons stop being satire and does it start becoming more like war reporting where it's more serious and stuff? So I think, Vladimir, you kind of mentioned this.
No, my cartoons are not war reports. No, they are satirical.
Yeah.
I do not draw patriotic cartoons. This should be done by illustrators who would like to show to people patriotic ideas. The task of cartoon is to ridicule of enemy of political cartoons. This Russia has been waging a broad propaganda campaign against Ukraine for many, many years. When I visited other countries, Brazil, Kuwait, China, USA, I always found Russian TV channels with anti-Ukrainian propaganda in the hotels.
Yeah.
It has been for 20 years before. And they spent a lot of money on propaganda. Ukraine was a poor country and could not do this. Ukraine did not suspect that Russia was preparing the war.
Um,
But they preparing the war by propaganda many, many years. And now in this, it is time to actively participate in the propaganda war.
yeah.
And it's possible to do, I can do only by cartoons.
Yeah.
That is why I draw political cartoons every day.
Yeah.
Because propaganda are working every day, at
Mm.
night, at day,
Yeah.
every day. And I am glad that my cartoons are published in many publications, as Le Monde, Washington Post, shown on France 24 TV channel, and Daryl
Oh,
Kriegel used my political cartoons all
oh,
time.
I
And
Daryl Cagle has your cartoons? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know
yes,
that. Oh,
yes,
okay.
you can see few cartoons a week
Oh,
about war in Ukraine and about Trump, of course.
okay.
Yes. Kegel proposed me to be a member of his syndicate.
Oh,
When he has been in Kiev city, we met here, and he has been here at my home, and
oh, okay.
I cooked to him some cooking. And
Oh,
after that, we met in France, and he proposed me to be member of.
oh, okay,
Okay.
okay. If I ever visit Ukraine, I hope you cook for me too. I hope to try some of your food too.
But for me, it was very important that my cartoons exhibited in many countries in the time of war. For
Mm.
example, in Slovakia, in France, in Italy, and the most beautiful words in my life I listened in Paris.
Oh,
When the exhibition of my cartoons about the war in Ukraine opened in Paris, some Parisian woman came up to me and said that she knew that we were at war, Ukraine were at war. But when she looked at my cartoons, she said, she realized that we are now in a big war with a fascist country, and she will now will tell to everybody about this, and he personally will help you to Ukraine and will set to friends to do the same. It was
yeah.
the main word about my political cartoons.
Mm.
So now I understand that my cartoons are going just to the center of target.
Yeah. Is that enriching though? Because it shows you actually see the people who've been influenced by your cartoons, right?
Yes, yes. When I have seen personally people who have seen my cartoons and reacted, this live reaction for me is
Yeah,
very, very
yeah,
important.
yeah.
When I draw cartoons, I remember some time moment in my life that some people look at my cartoons.
Yeah,
Yes, and this exhibition opened in another gallery in Paris near Pompidou Center. It was great because many people, it's place very, very hot for tourists. And
oh,
thousands of people have seen cartoons. But mostly important, of course, newspapers, because TV channel, for example, uh, France 24, it's millions of
okay,
viewers.
okay,
Cartoons.
okay.
Hello, hello.
Is it getting colder there?
Yeah, it's a bit, I got a little bit chilly.
No, okay. Hey, Vladimir and stuff. So I'm glad you're enjoying the talk and stuff. You were mentioning you like comics. I'm kind of a comic book nerd too. So,
Yeah.
or I used to be when I was a kid. So,
Yeah. You don't read comics anymore?
in college, I needed to spend money on my art supplies and stuff. So,
Right, right.
I want to get back just because I love superhero movies and stuff.
Mm, mm, mm. Did
Stuff.
you
So
did you see the new Superman?
I saw both the new Superman. You watch Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I'm a big Fantastic Four fan and stuff.
Nice, nice.
Vladimir, Khalid and I were big superhero nerds and stuff. I don't know if Ukraine has has that either and stuff. But yeah.
Uh, or Ukraine. We have not uh, some experience with comics.
Oh,
Mm,
okay. Oh,
Superheroes from comics, not from
yeah.
no.
cartoons.
Yeah. Yeah. I was raised in America and stuff. There's a lot of comic book nerds.
Yeah.
I know, I know.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Uh,
Also, Khalid or Vladimir, congratulations. I didn't get a chance to tell you, but congratulations on your Paris exhibition.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
Oh,
you.
you.
oh, okay. Okay. So now Khalid and stuff. What was my question again? You didn't get a chance to answer that question and stuff, but for
Mm.
you, um, you mentioned that your cartoons are not funny, right? And stuff. So your cartoons, is it because of the conflict, is your cartoons become more like war reporting or no?
So because of the war, and even I think during the revolution, because I was working before that for like almost 10 years, and I was doing, a lot of documenting, trying to talk about issues that are happening in Sudan and so on, because I'm outside Sudan, so I have more freedom to talk about it than people inside. But when the revolution happened, I wanted to kind of project other people's work because of my network and social media following. I wanted to put a lot of others' works out there, and the same thing happened when um, now after the war started. A lot of the political cartoonists from Sudan, of course, became displaced, like most Sudanese people, and most news outlets stopped working, stopped publishing, mostly, and there was a lot of propaganda, pushed from both sides, actually. So what happened is that we started a magazine. We started a cartoon magazine that I wanted that cartoon magazine to be independent, to be some sort of also like a cartoonist in residence program, so we can have as many cartoonists contribute as possible, and for us also to do exactly that, to kind of create a timeline of what happened in the war, and not from one perspective, from the cartoonist perspectives. And I think we're in our ninth cohort now. So each cohort is 2 months. So
Yeah.
we've been really busy, actually, and it's been really great. But again, the lack of funding and so on. But I think it's a very hard, but very rewarding, I think, for the future of Sudan, because the known archive of Sudanese cartoonists has been lost in the war.
Oh,
And so we lost our cartooning history. We lost, a lot of the archives and stuff. So, we're slowly trying to work that out.
oh, okay.
Mm.
Both of you mentioned something that never occurred to me before, but for both of you, your cartoons are trying to fight against propaganda and stuff.
Mm.
That's something that never occurred to me. But I think,
Mm.
yeah, for me as a Filipino American cartoonist during the Duterte years, I wanted my cartoons to warn the Filipino American community that the things that Duterte is doing in the Philippines was really dangerous
Yeah. Yeah.
and stuff. I was like, is there something going on here that you guys should know
Mm.
about and stuff?
Mm.
So
Mm.
it sounds like that sounds like a similar thing with you too. You need to break away from the propaganda to say there's something bad going on here, and you guys should stop listening to the propaganda and and find out the truth and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and stuff. So okay. Okay. So okay, here. I have a feeling we won't get to all of my questions and stuff. So I hope you guys don't mind. So but um during times of conflict, the aggressors have a tendency to want to dehumanize the other side so that they're able to commit atrocities against the other side. Could you tell me a little bit about the humanity and the diversity of both the Sudanese and the Ukrainian peoples, and how do you convey that humanity within your cartoons?
Uh, it's a very difficult questions
Oh,
because cartoon is a generation. It's
yeah,
something satirical. So, as I have already said, I do not drop patriotic cartoons.
yeah,
So, but before the war, I criticized, for example, President Zelensky in my cartoons because he was a populist and he don't care about fighting against corruption.
yeah,
And it was my feeling, and I did it not especially for some satirical magazines. I only draw cartoons, and after that, we proposed these cartoons to Kegel, to Le Monde, to other publicities.
yeah,
Yes, but now, in the time of war, after the war began, I stopped criticizing Zelensky and Ukrainian army. I am propagandist, unfortunately. I am not free cartoonist now because a soldier in the war cannot be free.
Yeah.
So, and this my humanity, not to criticize the policy of Ukrainian government, to criticize commander in chief of the army, but criticize the enemy only. Not inside my country, because there are many problems inside my country. But my goal, my reason is to help to win to my people,
Yeah.
and we can win only by army, by support of all people. And so I create every day cartoons, mostly against enemies,
Yeah.
mostly.
Yeah. So your cartoons, I think you mentioned this before. Your cartoons are a weapon of war.
Yes,
Okay.
but I would like to say that from time to time I made some exhibitions in Ukraine, and I called this exhibition as medicine uh, uh, helping. Medicine helping. It's gag cartoons, my old cartoons, now help to people to have rest
Yeah.
and
Laugh.
to be free. Uh, uh, I did it. And I would like to say that in this strong time of the war in Kiev city, the cultural life is very widely. For
Oh,
example, there are many open of exhibitions. There are theater is full of
Mm,
spectators. A
yeah.
cinema full of spectators, and from time to time, for example, we are sitting in the theater, but have listened voices of warming,
mm,
Okay.
and after that, all spectators are going underground
mm,
Yeah. Yeah.
in time, and when stopped the alarm, we came back to the city and prolongate spectator.
mm.
Yeah.
Uh,
That must be
and
gratifying. Yeah, that must be gratifying to you and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, and I see that people outside, all restaurants it's full, and people are smiling, and it's unbelievable because every night there are. I have listened many
Ah,
voices of pets and killed people, but at the day it's like night life, dead life, and light real life, a day life.
yeah. I'm curious because I'm listening to what both you and Khalid are saying. For you, the arts and the arts are very important to keep the vitality of a community and stuff, right? Because you can laugh during a time of terrible loss. It gives you a chance to laugh and to still be human. And for you, Khalid, the lack of the arts, due to censorship or due to the cutting of U.S. aid, that has a bad effect because without the arts to keep the community vitalized and stuff, there's no longer a place to be human is to be able to laugh, to be able
Mm,
to enjoy the full experience
mm.
of your humanity and stuff. And without the arts and stuff, it's hard to express that and stuff. So, am I right or am I wrong and stuff for both of you?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's another angle to it, which is again, I think our biggest issue is that we in most African countries or in most south, the south of the world, is it's very hard to tell our own history as well. So
Yeah,
we need art to tell our own stories, to tell our own, because someone else is told us who we are, you
yeah,
know, and the simplest thing, like the country of Sudan is like the borders, or the country of whatever, all African countries, or all the countries in the region we didn't do these borders, you know. We're
Yeah,
fighting
yeah,
about borders that we didn't even do before, you know. So just to understand these simplest things, you know, how did these borders come about? These borders that we're fighting about right now, how did these come about? Did we have any say in it? You know, it was mostly British and French soldiers that did most of this, right? So it's I think it's to understand our own stories, is to understand before telling it to the world as well, is we need to tell our stories. We need to also be familiar to the rest of the world, so the rest of the world would not be afraid or not believe whatever propaganda is being told about us, especially now, you know, with the right-wing propaganda,
yeah, yeah.
basically just, you know, leading hate speech, really, you know. So it's we need to tell our stories. We need to tell who we are, our history, where we come from, and we need art to do that. I mean, this is it's very important, and I think it's now more of media is a very strong weapon, and if we're not able to tell our story through art to the world and to ourselves, I don't know, I don't know how we can do that, you know,
Okay.
how we can be familiar with each other.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of reel it into my original
Mm,
question and stuff because
mm,
I really don't know much about Sudan and stuff.
mm.
Tell
No
me
one
about
does.
tell me a little bit about the humanity and the diversity of the Sudanese community.
Mm.
I
I mean,
mean,
we're
Vladimir
we're
talked
one
about
of,
the food, right, and stuff. Does Sudan
yeah,
have good food too and stuff?
we have great food because in, you know, and the interesting thing about Sudan is that um we are in, like, the heart of Africa, right? And we are one of the oldest, I don't know, I would say oldest places in the world, really. You know, we had the first, you know, one of the first Homo sapiens were there, like
Oh, oh,
a lot of
I didn't
things.
know that.
We have more pyramids than anywhere else in the world,
Oh,
and
okay.
our pyramids are older and undiscovered actually until today. And we have a lot of it's really, it's a melting pot, and that's why the food is amazing.
Oh,
And because we are the crossroads between Africa and the Arab world, right?
oh,
And we, it's like if you're in Egypt, you're in Egypt, you know, this is what you would imagine, you know, the pyramids, the food, the, you know, if you're in Ethiopia, this is what you would imagine, right? You're in Ethiopia, the people, the food, the history, all of that. And by the way, Ethiopia is the old name for Sudan. So modern day Ethiopia was called
oh,
Abyssinia.
oh, I
Ethiopia
didn't
was
know that.
actually,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's Nubia, which is also one of the oldest Jewish and oldest Christian civilization in the world.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so when you're in Kenya, this is what you imagine, safaris and all of that. When you're in Sudan, you're in three places at once. You
Oh,
know, the food, the people, the history is absolutely incredible. But sadly, it's not. We don't know about it. You know.
yeah, I don't know about it. So thank you for telling me and stuff. So yeah, does Sudan like advertise for their pyramids and stuff? Like, Egypt's
I
not the
mean,
only one with a pyramid. We have pyramids too and stuff. Or
it's it's really sad because we didn't really get a chance to look or think or kind of just, you know, nation build to begin with, right?
uh,
So that's the issue. I think if we when we started, when we just started to look at ourselves and think, okay, you know, who are we and how can we coincide and how can we work together, and with these borders that are, you know, with this new nation that is just called Sudan, right? Sudan literally means land of the blacks, by the way.
oh,
So
okay.
Sudan was actually any sub-Saharan country from Mauritania on the other side until Sudan. This is all Sudan.
Oh,
Uh,
oh, okay,
so
okay.
you know, the whole thing is just, you know, made up. It was just different sultanates that were put together and
Oh, okay.
made this country. But at any given moment, if you were in the center of Khartoum, there's 500 languages spoken.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
500.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. As an American, Americans tend to be self-centered,
Mm,
so we know about ourselves a lot, but we don't know anything
yeah.
about any other country. So
Yeah,
thank you.
this is how empires are made, you know? You just
Yeah,
know about yourself. Everybody
yeah,
else is not human.
yeah. So
Mm.
I thank you both for educating me on that. So, but okay, my next question. Um, for both, this is more of a historical question.
Mm.
How does the Holdomor, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, and the 2004 Darfur genocide affect the Ukrainian and the Sudanese people and stuff? How does the memories of that trauma affect both communities?
Mm.
Am I pronouncing that right? Holdomor? Holdomor? Is that right? Or
Holdomor, yes.
Mm.
okay.
I would like to explain that Holodomor is the destruction, killing of Ukrainian people by the Communist Party of the former Soviet Union through an artificially created famine in 1932, 1933.
Yeah.
About some numbers of killed people, it's about 7 millions. So it is a reminder for us that the Russians are the long-standing enemies of Ukrainian people,
Mm.
because Russian Empire destroyed after collapse of Soviet Union. And now Putin would like to rebuild Russian Empire. But without Ukraine, he did not do it. Cannot do it because Kyiv city was the capital of Kyiv, Russia.
Mm.
Oh,
And older than Kyiv have been a big city in Europe, more bigger than Paris. In this time, Moscow have been a little village only.
mm,
And they would like to take a history of Ukraine and said that it's our history,
yeah,
Russian history. And
yeah,
Ukrainian, it's our people, our brothers, but they would like now to kill brothers.
yeah,
And the whole politic of Putin is especially to destroy Ukraine like country
yeah,
and occupied all Ukraine, whole Ukraine without nothing, only full Ukraine, and occupied Pribaltica country, three countries, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, and would like to rebuild former Soviet Union or Russian Empire, because he said that the main bad things of 20th century it's destroyed of Soviet Union, and
oh,
the mission of him is to rebuild the Soviet Union.
yeah,
And this information is widely uh, dissemination in Ukraine and world press. It's not well known, but not known to Russian people, because Russian propaganda used many methods of Himmler, of Germany from the Second World War, from
yeah,
Hitler, and it's very effective. They used all the same methods, and these methods are working very good. And now we see that too much people support Putin politics. But I would like to say about cartoonists. In the Soviet time and after, I have had many Russian cartoonist friends,
oh, okay,
many.
yeah,
From Moscow, from St. Petersburg, we have been in the home of each other and meeting in many festivals of cartoons, and have been very kindly friends. But after beginning of the war, the Russian cartoonists separated, had a big separation to poles.
oh,
For example, some support Putin politics, but some not support Putin politics, some cartoonists. If they stayed in Russian at the same time, they have not voiced, have not published anything, only have silence. But
Yeah.
some cartoonists go on abroad in the first days of the war, and I know many cartoonists staying in Paris, in Israel, in USA,
Yeah.
Russian cartoonists, and it's my friends.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
after the beginning of war, all cartoonists who support Putin, not my friends, not
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
It's impossible to me to speak with these people because they support the killing of Ukrainian people.
Yeah. Yeah.
They support.
I admire their courage. They must be, the anti-Putin cartoonists must be very brave.
Mm.
But some of cartoonists who support Putin made cartoons supporting
Mm.
Putin. But if they not support Putin, they support Russian politics because he had not said something
Oh,
against.
oh, okay.
And
Okay.
silence, it's supporting. It's too supportive,
Okay. Wow. Okay.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Khalid?
In terms of which part?
Oh, oh, hold on. I think I forgot. You know, you know, in the I guess 2004 genocide,
Mm.
does that trauma still affect Sudan and
Mm.
stuff? I mean,
Yeah, of course.
I know you're struggling through famine and I think a genocide now and stuff. But how did the because Vladimir was saying how the trauma of the Holdomor is a lesson for the Ukrainians
Yeah,
now and
yeah,
stuff in terms of like Russia and
yeah.
stuff. How does I actually don't know, but how does the 2004 genocide influence Sudanese communities today?
I mean, it's really about showing how politics play a huge role in the decision of what is a genocide, what is considered a genocide, who's committing this genocide, and the outcomes of this genocide.
Yeah,
Because the people who committed this genocide are now supported by the Western allies, right, like the UAE and Israel,
yeah,
and they are now running, or they are about to create a state in Darfur as well. They're the same people that committed the genocide in 2003, and it's also the loose term of genocide as well. So now we can't say genocide because every time we say there's a genocide in Gaza, they're like, all right, so what is a genocide and the definition of a genocide, which is something that wasn't really pressed when that genocide happened in Darfur. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but why was it uh, okay for anyone to say that this is genocide at the time? And then there were sanctions put on Sudan and the Sudanese government at the time, and that affected every Sudanese citizen. Like we couldn't travel, we couldn't because we were put on the terrorist list, of course, not because of that, but because that was part of it as well. And Al-Bashir, the president at the time, is wanted by the ICG, right?
yeah.
And he couldn't travel anywhere. There was a lot of sanctions. It was always a shameful thing, and Bashir kept saying that this is against African presidents. This is not made it's made to kind of discipline politicians that didn't agree with the West.
Oh,
At the time, we took it as it's a joke. It's another experience that or an excuse that al-Bashir, a dictator, would like to do, and all of that. But now, I'm sorry about the I'm sorry about the voice, the
oh,
sound. But now we see with what's going on with Gaza and with Israel and with Netanyahu being wanted by the same ICG, that the US sanctioned the ICC judges, and Netanyahu's flying around all free, right? So does that mean that al-Bashir was right? Was it correct? So it's this talking about the genocide in Darfur now brings out a lot of things, right? It brings out one, that we know what the Janjaweed did in 2003, because now it did it in Khartoum. It did it to the people in the capital. It did exactly that, and they were brutal. So they must have. It's now we understand how selfish most of the people in Sudan were when they didn't understand what the government is doing and what the Janjaweed were doing in Darfur then, right? But also the political issue about it as well, again, which is we suffered all our life because of this ICG ruling, but now it seems to be okay. Like nothing happens to Netanyahu, nothing happens to anyone wanted by ICG. In fact, the ICG judges were now sanctioned themselves, you know? So what is it like this? It brings out a lot of questions. It brings out a lot of questions about what we were made to believe was an international just system.
Oh, okay. Can I ask something though?
Mm.
So are you saying that there's two things? There's the social effects on the ground, but then
Mhm.
there's the political
Yes,
ramifications,
yes.
and that they're two separate things.
Mm. Going
Am I
on at the
right?
same
Am I
time.
wrong? Am I wrong
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that, or am I right?
absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay. I'm trying to understand what you're saying and stuff. Is
Yes,
that the social impact is the trauma to the people, the
yes,
political
that yes,
ramifications
absolutely.
is the effects is different and stuff. The political ramifications add to the suffering of the social ramifications, I guess.
Yeah, and
Is
it
that
just
right or
makes
wrong? Is that
that's
right?
absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
So there's two sides of that story.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Mm.
I'm asking out of ignorance because I don't know and stuff. It's just
Yeah,
when listening to what you're saying and stuff. I thought something that had never occurred to me before and stuff. And yeah, because like in Asia, the Khmer Rouge, the Uyghurs. I don't know how to pronounce it in China. The Rohingya in So there's genocide there and stuff, but it's actually, there's a ramification. I don't know if there's a political ramification as well. Sudan sounds different in a way and stuff. How the Khmer Rouge and the Uyghurs. I gonna have to figure out how to pronounce their name, but the Rohingya
Uyghurs.
Uyghurs. Okay, how
Mm.
to it sounds the response to them sounds very different than the response to Sudan and stuff. I don't I'm speaking out of ignorance. So I don't know if I'm right or wrong and stuff, but it sounds different.
I mean, I really don't know about the Khmer Rouge and the history of that, like in detail. But what I'm trying to say is that we now just don't understand how serious the ICG rulings are, and the weight of the word genocide is how why does it, is it connected to politics? Is it connected to who's committing the genocide, or is it connected, all of that? But when it comes to what happened in Darfur, again, because we saw it with our own eyes, what happened in what they did in Khartoum. Now it's the same people that did that in 20 or three, but they are now accepted internationally, I guess. So that's what is that? Does it depend on politics of who's accepted internationally, and then they can do whatever genocide that they want to do? You
Yeah.
know?
Sorry, I don't have the answer. I don't know, but okay. Well, I'm looking at my clock. We have 9 minutes, and I want to make sure we finish before 7, right? 7 o'clock your time. So let me just ask my last question and stuff. Um, it's tough from both. How do you guys maintain your mental health and stuff? Because I mean, this is very depressing stuff that you're dealing with, both of you. How do you maintain your mental health?
Uh, I I walk a lot.
Oh,
All time drawing, firstly. Secondly, I have now wrote the novel and
oh,
preparing some graphic novel, and
oh,
now preparing the book about refugees. It's a graphic novel without words,
yeah,
and all time I walked and walked. But before the war, I like to travel a lot. To travel by cartooning festivals and the invitation to be jury member, prize giving ceremony, festivals, and other things. I traveled a lot. but now in the wartime, it's very, very important to be in Kiev city, and not too easy to come to another country because there is no plane in Ukraine.
Oh, okay.
I have to take train only afterwards to have a flight only in Warsaw, in Poland,
Wait a
or
minute.
in other countries.
I realize now you can't fly because you're worried about Russian missiles. Is that right?
Of course,
Oh,
of
okay.
course.
That didn't
Yeah, it's
that didn't occur to
impossible.
me.
Yeah,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
impossible. All Ukraine have not some flying airport and don't and stopped. But now Ukrainian something are doing for Russia like these things
Oh,
because when Ukrainian drones came to Russia, they stopped some airport working and planes have to stay. But but I have near my house very nice forest, very nice park, two lakes, and I like to walk around.
okay.
It's my favorite to walk around and to draw or create something.
Oh. Well, you look very
Actually,
healthy, you know.
it's enough. I have not time to think about my health.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, Khalid, how do you stay sane during these kind of depressing times?
I'm struggling actually. I'm like, one day is up, one day is down, and because of the ramification of this war, I'm here in Oslo. My parents are in Cairo, in Egypt. Most of my family actually is in Cairo, in Egypt. They left after the war. They can't leave Cairo, and I can't go to Cairo because the last time I was in Cairo, I was arrested for my cartoons. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
it's kind of we don't know how we're going to meet, and it's already been 2 years. It's just it's one day you think, what's the use of all of this, and the other day you're like, all right, I don't have a choice. So it's just constant, it's constant that you have to think about what to do and what to say and how to say it and all of that.
Yeah. Have you ever tried walking like Vladimir does? Or
I do, I do. I walk quite a lot actually, and that's why I like being in Oslo. It's quite nice city to walk in.
yeah. I have a stereotype. Is it cold?
It's very cold. It's very cold. Now, not now, but it gets very cold.
Oh, okay.
And in Kiev City now it's 33 degrees
Oh, wow.
Wow,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
that's really nice.
Celsius. Celsius.
Okay.
Not Fahrenheit.
Okay. So you must be pretty cold too. Yeah, here I'm in the Bay Area. It's actually pretty warm and stuff.
Mm,
In August, September, it's pretty warm here and stuff.
mm.
So,
No,
oh,
now
okay.
here it's like I don't know, 15 probably 15, 16.
Okay.
Oh,
Mm.
okay. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's not that bad. Yeah.
Okay. There's no what's in Norway again and stuff. Have you tried lutefisk?
No, it's not.
Oh, actually, is that Sweden? I think Sweden. There's a stinky fish that Swedish
Mm.
people seem to like, but I don't I don't know if Norway or
They
Sweden
probably
is.
do.
Yeah. Oh, Vladimir, since you're talking, when are you going to finish your graphic novel?
Don't understand.
Oh,
Finish
yeah, yeah.
what?
When are you going to finish your graphic novel?
Uh, yes, I finished, and now graphic novels preparing for publishing. But
Nice.
I create a new graphic novel.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
It's about war in Ukraine.
Mm.
Before I did about refugees, and
Oh,
now
okay.
it's about the war in Ukraine. But it will be not the hero will be not people, will be enemies, animals.
Nice. Wow, that's
Uh,
beautiful.
Okay. When do you think you'll finish that one? When will you finish that? What's the timeline to finishing that one?
Oh, I don't know exactly. I only began 1 month ago, but I know that this work can take 1 year.
Okay,
Mm.
okay, okay.
It's a big work.
Okay. Well, thank you both and stuff. It's about 2 minutes left and stuff. So I wanted to make sure that you finished under seven o'clock.
Yeah.
So and stuff. So thank you both and stuff. And I appreciate your insights. I am I'm not an ugly American, but I'm an ignorant American. I share with most Americans a sort of ignorance about what's going on in the rest of the world. So thank you for educating me. But also thank you for your both of you. You don't want to be political cartoonists, you have to. So I think I admire both of your courage and your sense of responsibility for your communities. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It was very nice to speak to you.
Yes,
Okay, sure.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.